This is Season 6 of the Team Roping Journals podcast, The Score. With over 2 million downloads, this is where Team Ropers talk. Hey everyone, it's Chelsea Schaefer. Welcome back to The Score. I know this month has been, I feel like it's maybe been the last 6 months have been pretty crazy when it comes to this podcast because a lot of our coverage has been from events, kind of wild and fast and furious interviews that have been happening while we are at Sioux Falls or while I was at the Rope Horse Futurity or the Regatta Buckle. And I love those episodes for sure. But this is one of those nice episodes where we get to kind of slow down and talk and actually get into somebody's brain a little bit more. And this episode is with Trey Yates. He finished 19th in the world on the heel side this year, missed the cut for Sioux Falls, but still won $80,000 with Chad Masters and got to rope with basically the partner of his dreams. But there's a lot to be learned here too, because roping with the partner of your dreams doesn't always mean a gold buckle. And I think that taught Trey a lot, and that is why I'm so very grateful that he wanted to talk on this episode and wanted to kind of give us some insights into the lows of this year. They have certainly put him through the ringer when it comes to testing his mental game, and he has learned a lot to get ready for next year. So without further ado, this is Trey Yates. Trey, I am glad you wanted to do a podcast now. And this time of year, I usually record podcasts with guys making the NFR. And, you know, we have lots of awesome, exciting things to talk about. But you are 19th in the world. This year was not what you wanted it to be. You were roping with one of your dream partners. Where are you standing on things right now? How are you feeling?
Well, obviously, there's a little bit of disappointment, or a lot. I first started taking interest in rodeoing in the National Falls Rodeo in the year of 2006. That was when I moved in with my dad and my family in Colorado. And Chad Masters was obviously one of the best at that time, still is. Which I think was it 2006 or 7 he won the world, his first time. So, and as a kid, I wasn't around those guys a lot. You know, my dad had quit rodeoing a lot. He still went some in the summer, but a lot of guys came to Pueblo to the rodeo. And the slack was always at 4 o'clock when I was a kid. And so as soon as school was out, I would go to the slack and then watch the performance at the state fair. And, Chad was very nice to me at a young age, which a lot of the guys were. But he just, you could tell when he said, "Trey, how you doing?" And as a young kid, and I'm a lot more emotional than a lot of people think, and I'm very gullible. And I, in my heart, which I know now it's true, and I have for a while, but he genuinely meant it when he asked, how are you doing? What have you been up to? Do you enjoy roping, or whatever the case is, whatever our conversations were. And, was the kind of guy that, as a young kid, when you have an idol, he would give you a rope or something like that. And that's just, stuff like that is, and for me, it never goes away. So I always wanted to rope with that guy. And, to not make it it's very hard to take, and Puyallup, Washington, Nelson Wyatt and I had one around, and I said in the interview with Amy Wilson that I love that guy. Well, I do. I mean, he's a bigger brother figure to me. Mm-hmm. And a great father, so it has some father aspects to him. And a lot of knowledge and a lot of experience. And when you go to Denver, or for us, that was the first rodeo of the year, and you have full intention of just taking the world by storm, and you don't, it's a bitter pill to swallow. Mm-hmm. But, it was around Caldwell time, and I told him, I said, there's nobody I'd rather be out here doing this with, and he said the same thing. And so there was a lot of special things that came from it. We got to know each other really well. We learned a lot about, each other's raising and growing up, and the paths that brought us to where we are today as people. And, Kylie's a great woman, his mother's a great woman, his stepdad, his dad, Bob, is awesome. His kids are awesome. And he spent a lot of time in Pueblo and became close with my family as well, or as far as I know, he mm-hmm. did. And all that's pretty special, and things they'll never go away. The agony of defeat is something we have to live with, but the things we got out of it are pretty special too. Now, I'm not saying that winning isn't everything in a sense, but I'm not trying to make it sugar-coated that we had a terrible year and it's all going to be okay, because at times it doesn't feel that way still, but we do have a special friendship still.
Yeah. What was going on this year that was, we talked about it, gosh, I guess it was around Caldwell time, you and I, that you weren't happy with your roping. I know you had horse troubles. Why wasn't it the magic that you wanted it to be this year?
Well, I think a lot of reasons. I think, I was still blessed to have good horses and horses I love, but, in my career of rodeoing, it started full-time in 2018. I rode Dude, and Dude was just, and I were just a match, mm-hmm. and I rode him at San Angelo, and we were getting ready. I didn't take him to California, and Chad came up kind of the first part of June, latter part of May, and we started practicing, and in one steer, I felt something was kind of off after I roped. I'd been roping on him every day, kind of getting ready, and, 3 or 4 steers a day, and things changed. He got hurt, and I'm a very overwhelming person at times, and it affected me, and mm-hmm. and I let it affect our year, I think, but just nothing seemed to go right, and we never got in a rhythm, and I didn't rope good. I didn't have the best attitude. I tried to, for Chad's sake, but it ate me alive. I've always had trouble handling my emotions with roping, but when you have someone that you want to do so good for and then you screw up, it hurts even worse,
Yeah.
And I did my best not to let it eat on me, and I learned a lot about that this year, but at times it did.
What did you learn about that?
I learned that, you have to find a way to brush it off, and everybody screws up, obviously some less than others, but it's not impossible, because as terrible of a year as we had, we still were within range all year. Like, we never didn't have a chance,
Yeah.
And it's like, what if I'd have had a better attitude here or there, maybe been more focused, or whatever the case is. There's like 3 steers that probably would have changed everything.
Mm-hmm.
And, if a guy's got to be pretty strong-willed at times to make it.
Yeah. Do you think that, when you were growing up, you had to catch? I'm not saying that was a pressure that your family put on you or anything that way. I just mean, you were healing a lot of times, helping for your dad at the horse shows, where there was a lot riding on you catching that wasn't just, at the junior rodeos, oh, you got to go catch for your partner or for your family. No, you were catching for clients on clients' horses that, it might have been their last year in the junior. They might have had the horse in the program for 4 years with your dad trying to win a world title. Where is that? I mean, that feels like a ton of pressure. Is that where that comes from, do you think? Or do you think it's just in your nature to be that way?
It's, I would say more my nature, because I was raised in that industry, that particular industry and those scenarios, and I thrive off of that, I think, a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But when you look over and know that one of your best friends is trying to put food on the table, and a lot of it relies on you, it's different. And, Tyler Wade and I are great friends, but for some reason we jived, and which is great as he ropes. He's going to jive with anybody, but it wasn't the same. It was different in a way somehow.
Mm-hmm.
Because when Tyler and I roped together, Tyler's a very confident person, and he believes strongly in his ability. He believes strongly in the process of team roping, and he's family oriented to Jesse and Weston, and he firmly believed that what we were doing was creating a future for him and his family as far as providing. And he believed that every time we backed in, we could win first. And I think that the great teams feel that way. And sometimes two great ropers rope together, and I don't know that is always the feeling that's there.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. And T-Wade is certainly a confident person and can win first every time. So it certainly makes sense.
I rope scared a lot, and that's a terrible thing to say, and it's a hard thing to say and be straight up about it, but I rope scared to fail at times, and you can't do that out here. Mm-hmm. Because there's too many guys that rope good, and you work all year at home, and you jackpot and you practice for what? Why would you be scared to fail? Because you get to do it again, and if I could do it over, I would have that attitude more, or try to. Like, you're programmed to, when this steer turns, heal him. Heal the steer. If it doesn't work, get in the truck and go heal the next one. And, the winners are wired that way. And like I said, I'm very gullible, so there's been some things said to me this year that helped with that a lot. Some of them, it was too late, but I think about it a lot. I think about things a lot, especially when I'm driving.
Yeah, so what are those things?
So, for instance, the other day at the World Show, and history tells it in the AQHA, my dad and Bobby Lewis have, in a way, been rivals for a long time. They were both very successful horse trainers starting years ago, and showed against each other a lot. But Bobby's always been a very nice guy to me, and so the other day at the World Show, he told me how I was roping really good, and I said thank you, and he had made a good run is what started the conversation, and I told him good job, and I said, Bob, I appreciate the compliment. It's been a year, and just trying to find myself again and figure it out. It's been tough. And he said, well, let me tell you something. He said, there's only one person that can hold you back, and that's you. And he said, which it wasn't necessarily. There was a little more foul language than I'm saying, but he told me, he said, you don't worry about nothing when you're rodeoing and roping. You miss one, you coil your rope up, and you ride out with pride. And you go the next one, and that's the only one you think about. And he said, when you go to the practice pen, you don't work on your skills. You might need to touch them up here and there. You go work on your horses, but you know you can heel the steers. We all know you can heel the steers, and I'm a fan, and I believe in you. And for someone that has had a deep history with my family, in a sense, showing against them,
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was really neat, and it really meant a lot to me. And, you know, I think sometimes I don't know why I struggle with that. Like, I don't always see in myself what other people see, and I see it in a lot of other people, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not looking for reassurance out here because you aren't going to get it. And that, I mean, I have to believe in myself and believe in the process, whatever the process is. And there's only one being that knows the plan, you know, and that's another thing I need to work on, and I've worked on a little bit this year, is my faith. And you have to keep it in your heart that your path is paved for you, and be willing to accept whatever is in front of you.
Yeah. It's funny that you say that. Coulter Todd said something to me at Greeley about, like, you know, about God knowing the beginning and the end, and we're just here and being used, you know, and I just, sometimes people say things to you, like you said, that really make sense, and whatever Coulter said, I can't even repeat it because I don't remember all the words, but it was very, very wise in a way that only Coulter can say things, so absolutely.
Today's episode is presented by Resistol Boots. Resistol boots have been designed by cowboys, for cowboys, rangers, competitors, and all those who love the Western life. You can trust the Resistol family for head-to-toe craftsmanship that embodies the authentic Western style that is perfect for days in the saddle or a trip to the office. Resistol's boots are as stylish as they are durable, with intricate double stitching that completes the boot in refined detail with true grit and polish. The shafts come in an assortment of colors from classics to showstoppers. Available in 2 toe styles and 2 heel styles, the cutter toe with the Western heel is a modern, narrower toe and a higher heel created for fashion and function. It looks as good in the stirrup as it does on the town. The square toe with the Stockman heel is a classic wider toe, a timeless heel to take you from the branding pen to the boardroom.
What has your family done for you, or how have they supported you throughout this year? Like, and what kind of feedback have you gotten from your dad and from your grandpa?
About this year?
Yeah, and in general, about your attitude. I mean, your dad, I've seen your dad. I know your dad doesn't want to lose. Like, when he had a tough go in the heading at the World Show, he looked as mad as anybody. So, I mean,
no, it wears on him, and you know, the thing I'm starting to see now is as he gets older, it does affect him more, and it's the hardest thing in the world for me to see when he's upset, because there's no bigger fan of his than me, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But as soon as he rides out and gets on his next horse, he's ready. And initially, it hurts him a lot, and you know, particularly like at the World Show, and he said it after we talked, and you know, when he misses, it hurts. It hurts 3 people in that specific scenario. It hurts. You know, it hurts him, obviously, because he hates messing up, and it hurts me. It hurts me for him. He feels like he lets me down, and the owner of the horse.
Mm-hmm.
And so those are things he has. I mean, that's just the truth of horse showing. But he lets it wear on him a lot that he's letting me down, and he never lets me down.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's trying harder for me, and I'm trying harder for him than anybody. And so I hate it for him because it hurts him a lot. My grandpa, it affects him differently. He's a lot like Chad in the sense that you can't tell if he missed or caught when he rides out, and that's a very hard thing to do, I think. I mean, I've tried to, and it's very difficult.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you see Driggers, he handles it well, and my hats are off to those guys. And I think a lot of it for my grandpa is I think he knows that. Well, anymore, I think he's 80. He's roping to have fun, and he wants to win. But I mean, just to see him do it is pretty amazing itself. But I think he always knew that his life was in the right place deep down. The best I can tell, you know, like him and my grandma, he had the children he wanted, and his life was good, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so, did he want to win more than anything at that point? But he knew he was going home to, and what he had made at home, and he was happy.
Yeah.
That being said, one well-being that puts that person in your life at the right time to make all that happen.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I want kids and a family, but I don't know when it'll be. And nobody does except God. And I do want that someday. And Jordan Allen's a good friend of mine, and he told me the other day, it changes everything when you have a kid. And he was like a big brother to me several years ago when he worked there in Pueblo. And it's just, I mean, to hear people like that know a lot about you as a person, and you know a lot about them, for them to say that, it must be something pretty special.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think a lot of my priorities have not been wrong, but somewhat in a sense, because I get so revolved a lot of times of what takes place in the arena that it affects me outside the arena. And that's one thing I got to work on as a person and get better at, for my sake, for my friends' sake, for my family's sake, all of it.
Mm-hmm. So what does that look like for the next year? Is that, I mean, you're rodeoing, you're still planning to rodeo, you're still planning to do a lot of the same things that you did this year. It's going to look like, from the outside looking in, it's not going to look different. What is going to be different, or what's your plan?
Well, I think a lot of the opportunities that professional cowboys get are pretty amazing, you know, to go compete at Houston at the you know, the biggest rodeo of the year, to go to San Antonio or Fort Worth, you know, go run one off the hill at Pendleton, Cheyenne, Salinas. Like, there's so many amazing places you get to go, and people you meet, and things you get to do, and I need to go to them and enjoy it.
Yeah.
And be thankful that that's where I'm at, and enjoy the people around me, and you know, give it my all, 150% every time. And whatever happens, but don't let it dictate how you treat people, or for me, don't let me dictate how I treat people, or
Mm-hmm.
what I'm going to do that evening for dinner. You know, I can remember the first time I lost my rope at the NFR 2 years ago, and it was the first time I had ever caused a no time in my life at the national finals. I lost my rope. I can't remember what round for T-Wade, and I was in bed at the Mirage before the calves were open. And looking back, like, for what? I mean, I just go in there and pout. So I did, and I mean, literally, the national finals rodeo, and I'm pouting. Like, nobody wants to screw up. It's hard. It's the biggest rodeo, and it can be hard to take, but enjoy it. You know, try to enjoy it, because you may never go back.
Yeah.
I mean, who's to say I never go back? I don't know. I don't want it to be that way, but who knows?
Yeah.
And I was there, and I'm pouting. I mean, I look back on a lot of instances of life and things I did, and granted, I'm pretty young and I got time to change, and I'm gonna, but I can't believe I did it. You know, I sold up. No different than that picture you have of me several years ago at Spicer's, sitting at the back end of the arena, sitting in the arena.
Yep.
I mean, it really bothers me to see that, because I don't want to be that person.
Well,
but I let what took place right then affect me, and it affected everybody around me.
Well, for anybody that is listening, I do have that picture, but you were really young at the time. I feel like it wasn't that long. I mean, it wasn't that long ago, but it was a long time ago. And it was an enter up jackpot, and you were dang mad that you had missed some steers and you sat down. So, but I mean, you had the miracle fairy tale NFR, your first finals in 2018. You won the average with Synergy. You caught every steer, obviously. How much did that set your expectations up? I mean, obviously you've always had big expectations for your career, but winning the average at your first finals has to be like, you can only top that by like one more thing, and that's winning the world. But I don't know, are your expectations to win the average every year, and that is what the standard to which you hold yourself to?
I think we had talked about this in a previous podcast that year. But Kellen Johnson and I won the college finals that year, and that was my ultimate goal that year.
Yeah.
And Aaron Synergy and I had the NFR made. Well, I mean, I was skirting around a lot, you know, driving around with one of my best friends, you know, drinking beer, hanging out with girls, roping. It was easy. Life was good. And then, you know, make the NFR, and then all of a sudden, you know, have a chance to win the world in the 10th round, but don't win the average, which is still amazing. And so then, for me, I was like, I thought I would. Honestly, after that, I expected to be there, thought I deserved to be there, and I got a quick rude awakening. But, you know, I did not make the NFR for 2 years after that. And then, you know, Tyler and I made it twice, and I missed it this year. But, yeah, I don't know that I expect to win the average every year, but, you know, I didn't realize how hard it was or what a feat it is.
Yeah.
And it's pretty crazy. Looking back, I mean, I remember texting Clay Smith and Paul Leaves that night and telling them congratulations because they won the world. And Paul Leaves texted me back and saying, man, that was so great. I haven't even caught all 10 here yet. Congratulate, like, you know, Paul Leaves is a world champion, been there several times, and it hadn't been done in it. So, I mean, it's a hard feat, and it's not something that's going to happen every year. And then you look at guys like Chad and Luke and Colin, and, you know, date back to Jimmy Tanner and Brad Culpepper, guys that do it more than once. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
You know, obviously Speed and Rich, Jake and Clay, but, you know, there is guys that have done that more than once, and it's quite a feat.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, what is this winter going to look like for you? I think we're talking while you're on your way to Arizona right now. So you are snowbirding it.
I'm headed to my house right now. Got some good jackpotting coming up. I'm gonna kind of get back in my element a little bit, and you know, I was so discouraged, you know, from such an awful year rodeoing. Well, I was going to quit for a month and go on vacation, and that didn't happen. And then I was gonna head, and I was gonna trip steers. I was gonna be a steer roper because I entered one rodeo this year, Pendleton, and made the short round. And I'm like, I need to go trip steers. I could be a steer roper.
Gave you a little confidence.
And if anybody watched the short round at Pendleton, and I would think they know that I'm probably not ready to be a full-time steer roper yet, because I did do a pretty good. I don't know if it was a front flip or what it was. When the steer got up, he got me at my ankles, and I busted him, and he busted me. So
I didn't
don't
see
think
that.
it's time for that.
I did not see that. Still, I'll have to go back on the Cowboy Channel and look.
Yeah, it was good. It was fun, and actually kind of like the thing I was talking about, the Wayne Brooks, he said, "Are you all right, Trey?" And I gave him a thumbs up and smiled, and I had people text me, 3 friends, and say, "That's pretty cool that, that could happen and you could still have a smile on your face." So that's the person I want to be.
Yes, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm going to rodeo after these good jackpots.
As a healer, as a healer.
I'm going to be a healer. I'm going to be a healer this winter.
No bull riding? No riding bulls?
I'm gonna do that someday.
Someday.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I crave it. In fact, I hate, my granddad's a PBR fan, and I just sit there and I just want to ride him.
This is so ridiculous. Okay.
I don't think one of those teams is going to draft me.
No, probably
yet.
not. Mm-mm.
I mean, I could call my buddy Cody Lambert and ask him, but I think his roster's probably full. I don't think he's going to kick Sage out, or Jerome Davis ain't going to kick Sage out for a minute to let me fill in for the weekend and see what I got. So,
so Steamboat it is, yeah.
It's going to be at Steamboat. I wish I could still get in the permit section, but I've exceeded that. So, I guess, It might be on the grass. It might be on the grass at Pendleton. If that steer didn't kill me, nothing can.
Oh my God. Today's episode is presented by Resistol. From the passionate hatters that started the company to the hardworking team working daily to produce the best quality hat a cowboy can wear, the folks at Resistol live and love the Western way of life. Not only do they respect cowboys and the Western way of life, they all live it too. That's why Resistol says we live it every day, and why they wear the hats that they make. Browse their wide selection of felt and straw cowboy hats, Western apparel, outerwear, and protective headwear at Resistol.com. Oh my God.
But no, I just, and I really do. I'm working on having a better heart. Like I do want to have a pure heart. I'm very soft-hearted, but I want to be stern in a sense that, because like I said, I'm gullible. So I've let a lot of what people have told me along this trail of events that I've been through in my life affect me, and obviously some of them are negative. And I want to be better about that. And, I just want to be a good person, and I want to enjoy the process, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I've enjoyed being home the last 2 months. I didn't go to any of the Ropens in Texas, but I did spend a month with my granddad, and my dad went to Brazil for 10 days, and my grandpa's feeling good, and he roped with me about every day or every other day. And those are things that I'll never get back in life.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been the best. And, I just want to be, if I can be half of the man he is someday, I think I'd be know in my heart that I was a good person.
That's got to be a lot of pressure, though, because your grandpa is one of the most beloved human beings in our whole Western community. I'm sure your grandpa's made some people mad over the years, but in his 80s now, he is everybody's favorite human, and he is so jolly and he makes me laugh. So I don't know. My grandma's a great woman, I guess, and I don't ever feel pressure to be, I want to be like her, but I guess it doesn't make me feel too much pressure to be like her, but
no, I'm with you. I don't think there's pressure there. Even for you just want to be.
Yeah.
They set an example. They set a bar.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And to have, because sadly there's people that don't have that example.
Mm-hmm.
And so to have that example and be able to be around somebody and spend time with somebody like that so many people love, and then you can have a special bond with them and love them even more,
mm-hmm.
is pretty amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't know, it's just heartwarming being around him,
Yeah, he makes me laugh. It's very funny. What does so Grandpa and Dad are going to come down to Arizona for a little bit too?
They are, yep. They'll come a little bit before the ropings in Vegas. They're roping in Vegas, and I'm going to be there for maybe 2 days roping, and then my dad's in a couple ropings, then my granddad's roping at the end of the week.
So you are going to stay. You're just roping for a couple days, but you're going to stay and watch your granddad rope.
I'm not. I'm going to be adios by then. I'll be watching him cross the water. I'll be in the Dominican Republic. I got some good family friends over there that I'm going to go see and spend time with, and I'll be cheering him on, though.
Are you teaching a school over there in the Dominican Republic, or are you just on vacation?
I have in the past. I've done 2 of them, but I don't know. I don't really know what they got planned. My buddies Ariel and Alex, they come to my house every year, and it's quite the relationship I have with my friends over there. They come over here and make themselves at home.
Mm-hmm.
And I told them when I go there, I'm making myself at home. Ariel, I'm getting in your recliner. Your wife's going to cook me dinner. And that's how it's going to be. And I don't care if we rip a steer.
That's awesome.
Because he comes to my house and he's got it figured out. See, he's got my grandpa hook, line, and sinker. So we saddle up all the colts and stuff. And then he takes my grandpa and plays this poor, pitiful me deal and gets to ride all the good horses. So
nice.
I said, I'm not roping with you over there. I will let you ride some good ones when you come over here, though. So he's going to come twice a year to rope. He's coming in January to my house in Arizona, and then again in May to Colorado.
How did you meet these people in the Dominican Republic?
So it's been 4 years ago, maybe, that they got in touch with AQHA and had my dad do a clinic, and then wanted me to go do a clinic. So during the NFR in 2020, I went over there, did a clinic, and we just became really, really close.
Mm-hmm.
And they came over the following year in May, and actually I roped with Begay at Cortez, Colorado, at the rodeo.
Mm-hmm.
And they got to go there and meet Derek Begay and watch us, and they're just very, very good people. You know, very good morals, good families. And, I talk to them 3 times a week, you know, so to go hang out with them once a year is pretty exciting. I went after the NFR last year, and this year I'm going to go, I guess, on the 14th of December. So,
oh, good.
Which I'm sure we'll end up in the arena at some point. If I know Ariel, he loves to rope more than anybody alive, I'm pretty sure, and that says a lot for some people, but he loves to rope, so.
Well, let's talk just beyond that. Beyond this next year, your dad has a thriving, very legacy horse training business, obviously. Tons of customers. You have some of your own customers. What does life after rodeo look like for you? You are going to be a horse trainer, I would assume.
I do. I enjoy it, and I think that's what I want to do. You know, a lot of it's going to tell, you know, what my family revolves around. You know, I think that's some of the things we don't know. Mm-hmm. You know, and obviously that's what I want to do, and I really enjoy it. And you know, I mean, to have the set of clients my dad has right now is pretty amazing. You know, it's not a client trainer relationship with most of them. We're all family, and they all come to our house and stay for days at a time, and I go to their house, and that to me is pretty amazing. And I almost think I'm spoiled in a sense that I'm going to look for, know that happens all the time.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you have to make a living. So, you know, there's going to be clients of all kinds, but I hope to have a family aspect relationship someday and be able to do what I love. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, right now, if the industry continues going the direction it's almost like you could step away from rodeo at any time. And I mean, anybody could really at this point, but you are in a very unique position to do it. Step away from rodeo. What do you want to do in rodeo before you are done?
Well, I think everybody that rodeos with goals has the same thing in mind.
Sure.
Like there's one ultimate goal, and that's to be a world champion. And that's the only thing missing from the Yateses.
Mm-hmm.
And I would like to get that someday. But I actually, Chad and I, on our way to Tucson, he had seen the movie, but I showed him. There's one of the most amazing sports speeches to me, which obviously it's fictional, but it's based on a true story, is Billy Bob Thornton on Friday Night Lights.
Mm-hmm.
Coach Garrett Gaines, when they're in the state championship game, and he had been hounding on his team all year about being perfect. And he talks about, what he finally comes to the conclusion at halftime. He tells them the meaning behind that. And he tells them, I've talked to you guys about being perfect, and I want you to know that perfect has nothing to do with the scoreboard. It has nothing to do with anything on that field. It has to do with your relationship with yourself and your family and your friends. And, you can look them in the eye and tell them the truth and tell them that you did everything in your power. There wasn't one more thing you could have done to be there for them and help them. And if you can do that with clear eyes and love in your heart, then you're perfect. And when it's all said and done someday, my rodeo career, I want to know in my heart that for my sake, my partner, and everything my friends and family have sacrificed and done for me to be able to do this, that I did not let them down, and I did everything in my power to be as good as I could possibly be.
That makes sense.
And maybe someday I will be a world champion.
Mm-hmm.
But that's if someday, I told my dad that the other day, when I'm done, if I go out and I can look in the mirror and tell myself that I did everything I could, then I'll be able to live with myself.
Yeah. I love it. Absolutely. Well, anything else we missed? We've covered quite a bit.
I don't know. I'm sure I have a lot to say. I'm kind of I think too much.
What have
beat
you
myself thinking a lot, and I'll think of something here in 20 minutes. 15 different things I should have mentioned, but
that's okay.
I really want to be a good role model for the sport of rodeo and team roping, and hopefully inspire somebody someday, and just be able to help somebody.
I agree.
In any way I can is my another one of my goals, I guess.
Well, where does that come from? Or why? I mean, obviously everybody wants to say that they're a good person and say that they want to be a role model, but I don't know, where does that come from, or why has that been on your mind lately?
I don't know that that's necessarily been on my mind, but a lot of the other things we talked about are, if you have a good heart and you're a good person, they come without you even knowing it,
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people have Rocker Steiner. I spoke to him one time. I don't know him. The only thing I can say about him is he's obviously extremely talented in the bareback riding, but with as little as that matters to me, at Pueblo at the rodeo this year, we have some good friends that are some farmers there, the D. Tomasos, and Gary's grandson Ridley. He'll be competing in the junior NFR bronc riding this year, and they come over to our house and rope and getting into the rodeo, dude. And it had downpoured rain before the last performance at Pueblo.
Yeah, it did.
I wasn't there, but and Ridley went to Rocker Steiner after the bareback riding and asked him to sign his hat. Well, his hat was drenched, and Rocker Steiner said, "I have a better deal for you," and took his shirt off, signed it, and gave it to him. And that's pretty awesome. What it meant to that kid is that's pretty cool. You know, it's a lot like what I talked about Chad giving me a rope when I was a kid.
Yeah.
That's awesome, right?
Yeah.
And like I said, people have their opinions about other people. I don't have one because I don't know him. That's the only thing I know about him.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, in my book, he's good. He treated a family friend of mine good like that. I'm good with it.
Love it. I love it. Well.
And he doesn't realize.
Yeah, it was just a thing
impact
he
made on that kid. That's kind of what I was saying. You know,
For sure.
You do those things without knowing.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you for being so thoughtful and thinking of so many things to talk to me about today. I appreciate it.
As always, I am so lucky that these guys are willing to share with me and willing to share with all of you too. So the next time you hear from me will probably be at the NFR. And remember to look forward to 10 nights of winners. Every round we will have an episode that'll go up immediately. So the next morning when you wake up, you can hear from the go-round winners from inside the Thomas and Mack. All right, we'll talk to you soon.